July 21st, 2023. The day the world forever changes. I mean that as in the fact that July 21st was a day that two highly anticipated films were released. An ambitious, star-studded biopic about the man who created the atomic bomb, and an ambitious comedy based on a popular IP, which also has a star-studded cast. It is crazy to me that these two highly anticipated films are both making a killing at the box office, and people are going in droves to see them, dressing up for both films specifically, and even seeing both films back to back in a trend titled Barbenheimer. This, to me, is a pretty funny idea, in which this idea is giving publicity to both of these films, especially in a time where actors cannot even advertise their own films. No, seriously, pay your actors and writers, Hollywood. And no AI. Just, no. With all of that said, I have seen both, and I'm going to review them. I will review these movies in the way that I have witnessed them. So specifically, I'm starting with... I'm the bomb and about to blow up. I'm the bomb and about to blow up. Oppenheimer is a new film from Christopher Nolan, who is the director of several iconic films, and with some of my faves especially, that chronicles the ambitions and aspirations of J. Robert Oppenheimer, the man that has created a device capable of inevitable destruction. I have to say right off the bat, there is some very well done filmmaking here, especially scenes with Oppenheimer's point of view being in color, and scenes of other characters' point of view being in black and white. There is even a deep study into Oppenheimer's mind and how he thinks, with the film cutting into specific aesthetic shots. With that said, Cillian Murphy is amazing as Oppenheimer, and I think he undoubtedly should win an Oscar. Everybody else in this cast does their part very well also, especially Matt Damon, Benny Safdie, Florence Pugh, Emily Blunt. Damn, this cast is stacked. Jack Quaid, Josh Peck, Devin Bostic. Yo, Roderick is in this movie. I mean, he doesn't have a huge role in the film. Like, his appearance is more blink and you'll miss it. But that makes me wonder, why isn't Devin Bostic, like, in more roles? Like someone put this man in the MCU. Like, I don't know, something at least. Other than that, one thing that I do think is interesting is that how even with this super stacked cast, there are famous actors in which only have really just a couple of scenes, if sometimes only just one. But believe me when I say that every detail all serves its purpose in one way or another. This is most definitely Cillian Murphy's film. I also admire how certain storylines and character subplots are shown, but they eventually connect or creep up on you in an extremely clever way. Now, this isn't a spoiler because the trailer shows this, but Albert Einstein is in this film. And again, he doesn't have a huge appearance, but this one scene with him in Oppenheimer is actually a major plot point in the film. And within that, the whole way the film concludes is absolutely mind-blowing. The ending to this film is depressing in a psychological way. Other than that, the production design is very well done, and the sound design is impeccable, especially within the film being very occasionally loud, and how even sounds that are used in this film can actually make you jump, kind of like a horror film. Like, for example, the gymnasium scene. Like, this scene specifically took my breath away. I'm being very vague about this film because I don't really want to spoil it. Overall, this movie is a 3-hour drama that is dialogue heavy, with sequences that are in black and white. It is very surprising to me that this movie is as popular as it is. But I'm glad to say that Oppenheimer is a great ambitious biopic that has great performances from its huge cast, complete with a complex screenplay and great filmmaking. I definitely recommend to go see it, especially in IMAX. Seeing this in the biggest screen possible makes the dread of the whole thing come more alive. I give Oppenheimer an A-.
You are the man who gave them the power to destroy themselves. And the world is not prepared.
After that whole 3-hour extravaganza, I saw Barbie right after it. I was very intrigued of the marketing of this film ever since the first teaser came out. That is one way to advertise your film. It was a Barbie film, but it seemed a little more different than one would expect. With Greta Gerwig attached and Noah Baumbach writing, I immediately speculated that there would be more complexity to this Barbie film than I would ever expect. Barbie, the movie, is basically about Barbie, the main character, played by Margot Robbie, who lives alongside other Barbies and other Kens in the seemingly perfect world of Barbie Land. She lives a fun, plastic day-to-day life, but her life suddenly then changes when little flaws start to pop up in her everyday life.
Do you guys ever think about dying?
When my heart breaks,
in which something about it has to do with the real world.
Closer I am to
I'm coming with you.
Okay.
Barbie then sets out to the real world with Ken, played by Ryan Gosling, to find out that the real world is actually a lot different from Barbie Land. There is actually more to this plot, but I don't want to give away anything because it caught me by surprise even when I saw it.
Why are these men looking at me?
Yeah, they're also staring at me.
The plot of this film isn't the most original thing in the world, as mentions of the Truman Show and the Lego Movie could come to mind when thinking about it, especially with Will Ferrell playing the Mattel CEO.
This could mean extremely weird things for our world.
This would be catastrophic!
This plot is so clever. But this film uses the Barbie IP and uses it to satirize and showcase Barbie and how she's influenced generations of women, while also at the same time embrace Barbie as a whole. With all that said, I definitely think Barbie lived up to the hype. It's a funny, inventive, and deep fantasy comedy, which boasts surprisingly really good performances from Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling. Margot Robbie plays a Barbie doll that suddenly gains personality, have a whole lot of purpose. Ryan Gosling especially kills it as Ken. Ryan Gosling can embody like any kind of role, and he could do it so well every time. The side characters in this film, played by Issa Rae, Simu Liu, Michael Cera, and more, are pretty good, even though I wish they were in the film more. America Fiera's storyline, I think, will probably be the most relatable to most viewers, especially alongside Ariana Greenblatt's character. Even though I thought Sasha was a little mean at times, I actually liked her character progression as the movie went, even though it was kind of subtle. This film does have a specific message in mind, and one that is in fact feminist, which some people actually didn't expect, in which if you didn't expect a Barbie film to be somewhat feminist, then I don't really know what to tell you. I've also seen a lot of male critics that say that this film is outside their demographic, and so their thoughts of it are kind of biased. For me specifically, I watch a lot of things that are outside my demographic, and for this film specifically, I actually really like the narrative, and I like the themes within this film. I thought they were implemented actually pretty seamlessly into the story, especially with Ken, who gets a lot of development regarding him learning about real-world terms like patriarchy, or for another example, horses. I also thought the musical number in this film was super cool too. Overall, I liked Barbie a lot for its thought-provoking concept, its great performances, and even its decent soundtrack too, actually. In terms of flaws, I would say that the third act just goes on a little longer than needed, and a few of the characters in this film could be better fleshed out. But with all of that mentioned, I actually think all of this plastic ends up being pretty fantastic. I give Barbie an A-. With all of that said, Barbenheimer is a really funny trend that started with two movies that are completely different from each other being released on the same day. I honestly think this went well for the fact that both films are doing very well financially, and they both ended up being really good. Cinema seems to be back and alive. If there was one movie that was better of the two, I would say Oppenheimer because I have less flaws with it, but I completely understand if you want to see Barbie instead. I really have to say is that I think two great movies could come both at once and should be judged as their own thing. Two legends can coexist, or five specifically in a singular year. All I have to say is Barbenheimer definitely lived up to the hype. But even with something as popular as this existing in a way, with this trend of two incomparable movies coming out on the same day, studios are going to try and duplicate this within future releases, which honestly, I don't think it's gonna totally work. Like Barbie and Oppenheimer were two highly anticipated releases. There's actually going to be a future duplicate of this trend coming out on September 29th of this year, in which September 29th is the day that Lionsgate releases Saw X, the same day that Paramount releases Paw Patrol the Mighty movie, and both studios, in a way, are trying to create the trend titled Saw Patrol. I'm sorry, what? Now, yes, this is a funnier idea than Barbenheimer. But do you really think I'm gonna watch Paw Patrol? Like, what is this new Paw Patrol even about anyways?
I feel the need for super speed. I'm a wrecking ball. Surf's up. Look at your paws. Great. When you go up against one of us, you go up against all of us.
The Paw Patrol gets superpowers. This is literally DC League of Super Pets again. Oh my... Y'all are getting literally the same film. But with Paw Patrol this time, bruh. And what is Saw X about?
According to these scans, the tumor was never removed.
How much time do I have?
Months, at best.
I still have a lot of work that needs to be done.
Saw X is an in-between prequel to Saw 1 and 2 about John Kramer getting revenge on doctors that refused to give him treatment for his cancer. You know, I guess I'll be seated, but I'm not paying to see Paw Patrol. This is way too bizarre for me, honestly. If you like what you saw here, please like and subscribe. And, so long.
Catastrophic!